Hello. Hello? Oh, my music hasn't been playing. Rude. How rude. So let's go ahead, get that turned on. Just want some, or maybe I came in during like a break in the music or something, because that's louder than it should be if it wasn't at 0. Nugget! I'm sorry, my cat. Nugget. Let me go get him. We can all say hi to Nugget together. We're all gonna say hi to Nugget together. Tishbit, and then we'll come back to audio mixing. But Nugget's gonna help us with the audio mixing, aren't you? Because you were chewing on plastic, and you know you don't eat plastic. You know you're not supposed to have plastic. This is Nugget. This is Nugget, my little troublemaker. He is no. You're hanging out with us. You're in jail right now. You're in prison. You're in prison. He escaped prison. Okay. I'm actually incredibly, like, I can't express how excited I am for this video, because I just want to gush about this book. I loved this book. Why is the music being so rude? The music is being so rude. The music is pretending it doesn't exist, but like, I know good and how well it exists. I'm looking at it. Right? It's just being horrible, rude times. Okay, that should be fine. It's fine. Don't try and get in my closet either, sir. Monstrous by Jessica Lewis. So, the story of how I got this book. I got it as an ARC, and the story is the author put up a thing on her Twitter and was like, "Hey, Nugget, he's not taking me seriously at all." But author put up a thing on her Twitter and was like, "Hey, looking for people who might want to read the arc of this book. Here's a like Google form. You fill out, see like about if you're interested." And I went to the Google form and I nerded out entirely. Like, there was a question of like, why might you want to read this book? And I was just sitting there like, okay, be cool, because the story is like highlighting how the book takes place in the South, and there's a monster and she's getting sacrificed to a monster, and I'm like very curious to see how the monster, like the lore and the like history of the monster relates to the history of racism in the South, as well if homophobia plays a part, because they are also in the South and the character's queer, and like full autistic ramblings in that Google form. Got the book, read it, and when I tell you this book gave everything, it was, let me describe to you. We're about to get into it, but it gave every single thing it was supposed to give. It was so satisfying. I genuinely might reread this book every year just to help restart my heart. Oh, it was so cathartic. It was so satisfying. Let's go ahead. So in this book, you have our character Latavia, who moves to this like small, quiet little town in Alabama, I believe. And she moves with her aunt and her cousin after a falling out with her mother. And when she gets there, like, she's there for the summer. Like, this is not a long period of time. She's there for the summer, and there are 2 closed casket funerals in like quick succession. There's also like and they both immediately follow this really weird loud noise that happens at night. It's also like, there are just a lot of weird, hyper strict rules. Like, you're not supposed to, like, after a funeral, you have to go straight home after a funeral. You cannot be wandering around. There's, like, curfew. A lot of stuff. There's a lot of stuff going on, and Latavia's just, it's weird. It's weird. And so now she starts asking questions. She's asking these questions to her cousin Jade and her crush Allison, and they're both super, super shifty about it. Allison then asks Latavia, to go to a party that's out of town, but before Allison gets there, like a bunch of hooded figures kidnap Latavia and brutally assault her, then take her out into the woods that no one's ever supposed to go into, where they strap her to an altar to be fed to a snake monster, and that group includes, also, by the way, this isn't super spoilery yet, frankly. This is also thus far pretty much in the blurb of the book. It is also like the first two, maybe it's like the first handful of chapters. The book really does like jump into everything. You start off in one of the funerals. It starts super quick. But this is going to be a spoiler filled review. So, on we go. The group, including the people that sacrifice her, include Town Pasture, this like bigoted store owner. I believe he is John. Another dude who was like fine, I guess. He's fine. Carter, a ice cream store owner named Katie, and I'm missing someone. Pasture, John, Carter, Katie. 2 people left. Oh, a cop, a bigoted cop, and Latavia's aunt are all the people that sacrificed her, and then specifically the men, not including the pasture, but the men, Carter, John, and Officer, are like violently assault her. They break her leg, and she was supposed to be going to college after the summer to get a track scholarship. It's a whole thing. So they assault her, tie her up to the altar to be fed to the snake. But they broke the rules of the sacrifice to the snake. So the snake has rules. Coco, get down. My children. We're coming to jail next now. Come on. To jail. Oh, don't cry. Don't cry. So the rules of the snake monster, this is Coco, this is my girl, are the sacrifice must be willing, the sacrifice must be uninjured, and the sacrifice must be naked. They break all 3 rules with Latavia. She's very clearly not willing. She is beat to hell. They also have a dog. A dog attacks her. That's a big thing. And Latavia's aunt is like, give her this. Like, have some fucking mercy. Don't take off her clothes. And so all 3 rules are broken. And the snake rejects her as a sacrifice. And she ends up making a deal with the snake. Latavia ends up making a deal with the snake that in exchange for helping the snake to destroy these barriers that the people over the years of and whatnot have created to prevent the snake from getting into town. If Latavia helps break those barriers so it can get into town, then the snake, will help her kill the 6 people that wronged her. Oh, I loved this book. I love this book. This book did so many things so incredibly right. And I'm going to just kind of like gush and gab about them right here, but I will probably do infinite numbers of videos later. Okay. Again, this is going to be infinite amounts of spoilers. I think this book did a phenomenal job with morally gray characters, in that you have people doing these things, committing these perpetuating these sacrifices, forcing these sacrifices for complicated reasons. And maybe the reason isn't outright malicious and whatnot, but the victims have the right to be mad still. Victims have the right to be mad that these harms were done to them. They also have a right to be mad that bystanders let it happen. And you see that explored with multiple characters and multiple scenarios, and I genuinely think it's so well done. For example, you have Jade. Jade is in the house when Avi gets taken, and she freezes, she panics, she just kind of stands there frozen while they're taking her, and Latavia's mad that she didn't help, and she has the right to be mad. And the first kind of thought is, well, what was she going to do? Something. She may not have actually been able to stop the whole thing, but again, Latavia has the right to be mad that no one tried to save her. But you do see the levels of, okay, she's expressed that she is mad. Jade has expressed genuine remorse for, again, not doing anything, not being able to help in any way. And that is a fair level of consequences to the crime kind of thing. Because then you also have Allison, who knew that they were going to be sacrificing Latavia, and knew that was something they told her that they weren't going to do it, and she believed that they were honest about that, but she knew that Latavia's name had been thrown into the fire, and Latavia is mad that she didn't bring that up. She didn't say anything. She didn't warn her that she was going to be killed, which, again, Latavia was mad about. And while Allison was going to try and sneak her out of town just to be safe, which is that was a major step on her own part, Latavia's still allowed to be mad that you could have told me I was in danger. I was there's a good chance I'd be in danger anytime soon, but you didn't. And Allison's allowed. And there's the moment of Allison finding remorse, seeking remorse, feeling remorse for that, and seeking forgiveness. That's the word I want. Forgiveness for failing in that way. And they're that is an example of, yes, these are examples where you could potentially put yourself in danger, but people are still allowed to be upset that you did nothing. That is where a lot of I feel, see, this is a thing I'm going to get into a whole fucking video of. Long story short, I feel it is the being so focused on you as an individual, you aren't focused on the community, and it is easier to pick you off individually when you are focused on the individuals versus the community. It's a whole thing. I'm going to get into it in another video, but we have to move on. I have so much to talk about. The next one is Katie. Katie is the ice cream shop lady that was a part of the Hooded Figures that sacrifices Latavia, and you see a very distinct difference, and Katie is the first person that Latavia interacts with after that night that was a part of that 6. And it becomes very clear that she was not actually invested in this whole process, in this whole sacrificial bullshit, which oh my god, the whole thing is so, the whole thing is deeply bitter. The whole sacrificial situation is deeply, deeply bigoted, because there basically was never a single, like, willing volunteer. They were all tricked into it. A lot of slaves tricked into thinking they'd be free if they volunteered for this assignment. A lot of terminally ill people tricked into it. If they volunteer for this, you will, like, send you to get some special treatments. Homeless people tricked into thinking they get a free food. Like, it's so deeply fucked in every way, shape, and form. But Katie, as far as she knows, doesn't seem to have known much about this at all. She was just roped into being she just did the finances for the funerals and whatnot. And it doesn't seem like she knew about sacrifices and whatnot, but she was never an actual part of it until this night, where her, like, mom and grandmother were out of town, so she had to be the one to be there. And it was more of, like, a wrong place, wrong time thing than, like, an actual, she was trying to actively be a part of the harm, about a part of this attempted murder. And you see a very different reaction to, because the snake does not give Latavia the time to really process that information and process those feelings. It just kills her. It just kills Katie. And you see, so, like, grief and regret and disgust that Latavia experiences when thinking about the death of her versus the death of these shitty ass men that assaulted her. And there's also another, like, shitty ass man that gets killed. She doesn't regret those, because you know what? Sometimes the world doesn't need all people, you know? And they appreciate that balance of it, like, she did a bad thing. She probably needed some consequences, something to ensure that she would not continue to participate in all of this, but she didn't need to die. And the book is very clear about that, and I love that. Then you also have the aunt. The aunt is such a good scene. It's such a good scene. Again, major spoilers. So she finally goes to see her aunt, and the aunt intentionally, in saying, like, hey, don't take her clothes off, was hoping, it was a plan that she had made. She was hoping that the snake wouldn't actually kill her. And she also knew Latavia would be devastated by the whole scenario and was, like, more than willing to let the snake kill her if that's what needed to happen. Her aunt had been given the opportunity to sacrifice herself instead, but she did, instead of letting Latavia be the sacrifice, but she didn't, because if she had done that, then Jade would have been forced to take her place in enforcing these sacrifices, and she was trying to figure out any way, shape, or form that she could get them both out of this whole mess. And so you see the complicated, the hard decisions that she has to make, but the book never lets you, the book fully, like, wants you to see the complicated decisions she's making, but never undermines the pain that it caused Latavia. Because you see, Latavia is no longer, like, Latavia understands the hard decision the hard position her aunt was in, but at the same time, that trauma is still there. She still underwent that. She's still having nightmares about that. And so maybe she doesn't want to kill her aunt anymore. She doesn't want her aunt to die anymore. The snake has other plans, but, you know, we're not going to get into that. But she doesn't want her aunt to die anymore, and doesn't even know if she could look at her aunt, even knowing everything that she was trying to do, her aunt was trying to make work to keep them alive through it. Even after that, the trauma she has, the pain she has, she just does not know if she can even look at her aunt, because she has been through too much. This is not, like, a simple, I guess that's how this goes kind of thing. Like, there's going to be a lot of unpacking before she's able to ever really move past that. And that is, like, I love it. There's also, like, depiction of her trauma throughout the book, really well done, as well as a thing that I really like, because, you know, she was dragged into the forest. She was kidnapped, dragged into the forest. Her leg was broken. She had a dog attack her. All very traumatic things. And that changes kind of like her perspective on some issues in the world. And you see her come across someone trying to rob a woman, and he's trying to push this woman into the forest as he's assaulting her. And Latavia is like, well, don't eat her. It's not her fault. She doesn't want to be here. He's attacking her. He's forcing her in here. If anything, eat him. And the snake just kind of dismisses it as like, oh, you're just projecting. And he does that. It's like something similar to that again. And I think that's a great example of of how people dismiss those that have these experiences, have this history, and have been through certain things as projecting. But it's also like, you don't understand the logic. Maybe you, as someone who hasn't been through this, don't understand the logic of being in this position. You don't understand the nuance of the situation. And I appreciate that it is something, the way it is done is with something that is super, super, like, most people wouldn't say that the woman should have died for being into the forest because she was being forced into the forest by a man assaulting her. And it's like the baby version of, okay, let's understand nuance. People that have been through these experiences might understand those nuances better than you. And I love that. Again, another thing I'm going to need significantly more time than I have to talk about. Expect many videos about this book. This story is a character story. It's not a plot story. Like, there is a cool plot going through the sacrifices and whatnot, but that's really just not the heart of the story. The heart of the story is Latavia and her experiences and her going through everything that she does. And it's also like a great example of, like, I'm the type of person who can often pick out how a story is going to go, especially with mysteries. But that doesn't mean anything with how I enjoy it. I don't know what people don't seem to understand, that me being able to predict how a book is going to go, how a movie is going to go, how a story is going to go, doesn't affect my enjoyment of the story if the story is well told, because, you know, characters are also a major part of the story. Like, I knew there's a whole moment where she finally runs into the pasture. I knew literally everything, every single twist that happened when she interacted with the pasture then. But that honestly, I don't think that was the climax of the book. The climax of the book was when Latavia confronted her aunt, and then the two confrontations before and after that she had with Jade and Allison. Those were the most emotionally devastating. Those were the moments where you had so much to lose with regards to her relationships with all of these people, and as well as, like, with her trying to even figure out where her emotions, her moral compass, where everything is. You had everything to lose in all three of those scenes for Latavia as a person. And so I think for sure those are the most impactful. Those are really where the climax of the story hits. If anything, I would honestly kind of say the pasture is more of a setup for a sequel, which I if you can't tell, I would be there. I would be present for the sequel of this book. Without a doubt, without hesitation, I would be present. The last, like, thing I'm obsessed with that I want to talk about is the snake. He's such a fucking cinnamon roll. He's such a sweetheart. There's a point in this book, like, the dude starts out, like, from the very beginning, I knew he was going to be just such a sweetheart. He's like, you know, we're just making a deal. We're just business partners, so we're not going to be friends after this. And I'm like, sure. Sounds like someone who's been hurt. Sounds like someone who's been, like, emotionally hurt and just needs a good hug. And you know what? He gets them good hugs. Because, like, the funniest thing about this book is just constantly Latavia being like, oh my god, he's gonna kill me after this is all over, baby girl. Every time he sees you, he asks you if you need comfort. He ain't gonna hurt nobody. He ain't gonna kill nobody. What are you talking about? Oh my god, that snake is adorable, and I need to see more of him. He's so cute. He's such a sweetheart. Literally, every time he sees her, he's like, Latavia, do you need comfort? You seem stressed. I'm like, sweetie. He is a teddy bear. Okay. Coming to the end of this, I have 2 problems that I want to talk about with the book. One of them is basically a fake problem. One of them is just me ranting less at the book and more like as if I'm in the book ranting to this character as if they are a real human being. Because Jade, when she finds out that Latavia has been working with Snake to kill people, has the fucking audacity. She's throwing a temper tantrum about killing people, which, whatever. But my thing is there's a point where Jade explicitly says you can't kill everyone that makes you mad. Understatement of the goddamn existence of the fucking known universe. These people attempted to murder her. They brutally assaulted her. She can't stop having fucking nightmares about them. She has a panic attack when someone comes up the stairs, and you think that you're just going to dismiss that as they made you mad. I wish I could have reached into this book and slapped the taste of spit out of her fucking mouth. The audacity, the ignorance. Side note though, I do vividly picture her being played by, I believe, Stormy Reed is her name, who was in The Last of Us and Euphoria. Let me look. Storm Reed. Just Storm Reed. Just Storm Reed. I vividly imagine her being played by Storm Reed. But yeah, like, that was the most obnoxious fucking thing that girl could have said. Oh my lord. 2, and this is a real thing that I actually genuinely didn't like in the book, but it was relatively brief and super early on, so I got past it. But there's, like, early on, you have Allison showing some insecurities about her weight. It's one of those, like, presumably she's supposed to be a fat character, but like they try and use like numbers to it. Like she's like, there's a, like, she uses a moment, the main character says like she's only 2 sizes bigger than I am, and then later on she says I'm like tall and gangly, so like I don't know, but I think she's supposed to be a fat character, right? And the main character is just super harsh to her about it. Like, she doesn't say much to her about it, but she's almost like a irritated kind of, don't say that. Like, stop it. And even thinks to herself, no one cares about your weight. And, like, realistically, that's not true. Fatphobia is unfortunately alive and well. But also, like, in the book, it's like we find out Allison's been abused, and that they would bring up her weight in that abuse, and it's a weird. This is another thing I probably need to make a video about to describe why I feel like of this moment either needed to be written differently or needed to be just cut. Because there is, like, a general later on in the story, like, she says, like, oh, she's been through so much and I've been so hard on her. But there's, like, 1,000 things that they actually interact with, that they're actually doing in their interactions, that she, like, they have the interaction and she, in narration, acknowledges a wrong there. But in the narration, you never really get a direct, damn, I've been gaslighting her. Damn, like, maybe I just didn't understand. And like, I would have wanted a direct call out of that, rather than if it's because at the moment it just doesn't seem like that is something the narrator considers to have been a wrong, considers to be part of the wrong, because every other thing she does have an aside to explicitly call out as being wrong, but you just don't get that with that. So I would have preferred an explicit, like, damn, I was gaslighting her. I wasn't listening to, and, like, I was treating her like it was all in her head. Or she could have also just not been harsh and like rude about it. She could have just like hyped her up. She could have complimented her. She could have done something else instead of choosing to actively behave in a manner of pretending that is all in Allison's head. She could have, her active actions could have been supportive as opposed to dismissive, and that's if the character had to have had had direct feelings, take a moment to say something about it at all, kind of thing. But yeah, that was the one thing. There are two moments of it very early on in the book that, like, I think it's literally like the second one is the chapter where she goes, I think the chapter where she first gets to Allison's place, and I believe. But yeah, that's something that's like the biggest issue I had in the book. I feel like I had something else maybe, but I don't remember. This is why I like to usually get my notes all together, but I didn't do that. I didn't do that for a lot of these arcs because I thought I wasn't allowed to, but apparently I can, so I will be going back through all of these arcs, uploading all of the notes that I took to my Patreon, and doing that, including this book, which I will be doing like a shit ton of videos about because I'm just so obsessed with this book. But yeah, that, as far as I know, as far as I remember, is the only thing I have to say about that. This book is so good, though. This book is very, very, very good. I cannot wait to just... Honestly, I can't wait to read it again. That's truly where I am with this book. I loved it so, so much. And the author sent me a signed copy with some bookmarks and stuff, and it's super cute, and it's in my... whenever I start recording in this place, it's gonna be in my setups for YouTube videos. I'm super excited about it. But I believe that is all I have to say about this book. It was a good one. It was a good one. I needed this book, and I will probably be rereading this book like every year, just for the satisfaction. But that is all I have for right now. Thank you so much for watching, and until next time, Valedictions, friends.